Everybody.
So
Okay.
good morning, this is Newport Town Times on the first Tuesday of August already, my goodness. School's gonna be starting soon, it seems like it just let out. We have with us here today, we have Brendan Minahan, who's the superintendent here, and Christy Whipple, and then our presenter is Patrick Adrian. He's taking on a kind of a new role in addition to his Eagle Times reporting for NCTV as a reporter gathering information for them. So Patrick's going to tell us how it's all going to work. So Patrick, it's all yours.
All right, good morning. My name is Patrick Adrian, and again, I'm a reporter with the Eagle Times, a freelance journalist, and I'm very happy to be joining NCTV as its new station reporter. Like a lot of people in our communities, local news and preserving local news is very important to me, and as is helping people stay connected to all the events that are happening around them. In Newport, there's a lot happening that's very exciting right now. Look at the Newport Opera House renovations. They're going to be expanding the offerings from live music to theater. I'm sorry, not theater, from live music to films, as well as talk about having a youth theater program, workshops, and programs for youth. There's over at the high school, we have Sugar River Valley Regional Technical Center is working on a proposed renovation that will allow them to provide more professional opportunities for students and increase their tuition. The Library Arts Center is collaborating with some other partners to put together a regional arts map that's going to be a digital interactive map that visitors and tourists will be able to use to kind of identify all the cultural attractions happening in Newport. And even recently we heard that the town is going to be renewing its efforts to propose a new town community center. And I guess what we would like to do is, our hope is that in general is for NCTV to become the informational hub for Newport. And this would be not only for town committees and for private organizations, but even youth organizations from 4-H to the Boy Scouts to the Girl Scouts. At community television can do so much, not only in terms of public service announcements and promoting through Facebook, but doing live interviews and doing promotional videos for anything that's going on, from fundraisers to new announcements. So my role in that is going to be kind of being that outreach person. I've already kind of sent out emails and some phone calls to a variety of organizations and committees and local businesses, and will be from time to time kind of just doing check-ins, finding out what is going on, if there's anything to be reporting to the news station, to NCTV. And our hope is, I think the earlier that we can learn about things that are going on, the more that can be done in terms of putting programs together. So, and my hope in time is that really organizations and individuals will be just kind of coming to me directly, just sending information and kind of reaching out. So to really start thinking about NCTV is that first thought that people have when they're planning anything and want to get that information out into the public. So right now, my best contacts, you can either reach me by my cell phone, and this does have a DC area code, it's just one that I've yet to change after many years. So that number is 202-368-5733. You can also reach me by email at pfadrian, F is in Frank's, so it's pfadrian25@gmail.com. And I think that's all I have to say at the moment.
Well, it sounds good. I'm excited. We finally have a way to get information out. I'm going to give this to Patrick to take home, but this is the new newsletter for the Historical Society for the month of July. We do quarterly, so this is the July one. A couple of days late getting out, but oh well. And inside you will find a nice article on what we thought was the Corbin covered bridge, which is actually the Sibley Highway covered bridge. It was a postcard, I think, that Larry had. But also, down here at the bottom is an article on Jana's new book. You've heard me talk about that before at the last meeting. That is at the printers as we speak, and we hope that it will be available by the end of the week. Not going to talk about the museum reopening, that's Larry's job, but anyway, beginning next week, you can pick these up at Sugar River Bank if you're not a member, and on the back is a membership form. We would highly urge you to join. It's only $15 for a single member and $25 for a family, and it helps us fund the activities at the Historical Society and also the cost of the museum, you know, the heat, electricity, water and sewer, all the infrastructure type things. So, and if you do join, you will get this in the mail automatically every quarter. You won't have to run to the bank and pick up a copy. So, anyway, that's that. So, Miss Christie?
Oh, hi. Christy Whipple from Newport, Montessori. Welcome, Patrick. I'm excited about that. I'm sure I'll be in touch with you quite often. Things at the school, as Jackie said, we're gearing up, getting ready for the opening of the 21-22 school year. The COVID pandemic brought a lot of things, including a lot of students to our school. So we had a 14% increase in our enrollment. So right now we have 4 spaces left in our middle school, and all the other classrooms pre-K to grade 5 are full with some waiting lists there. We just sent out our August 1st, we sent out our back to school packets with all the things in it. So if you're a parent at home and you haven't received that yet, give us a call. And then our opening day for students is Tuesday, September 7th, so just after Labor Day. So staff's in there now, off and on, and then the last week in August and getting ready to greet all the kiddos. It looks like we'll be on track to have about 107 students. That's it for me.
I have a question, Christy, and I'll ask the same thing of Brendan when he's the next up. As we see the Delta variant surging, latest, as of yesterday, numbers for New Hampshire, 586 active cases. A little over a week ago, there was like only 319, so it's ramping up. Sullivan County has 11, and Newport is in the 1 to 4 category, so we kind of don't know how many of those. I wish they'd stop doing that and just give us the number. But anyway, so I'm wondering, and you know, this is certainly hypothetical, but if this gets really going, have you thought about what that might mean, or you prefer not to?
No, I'm sure Brendan will talk about the same thing. So we've had a COVID committee that's been meeting since March of 2020, when all of this went on. They've been meeting monthly, sometimes bi-monthly, depending on what's happening. So our committee just met last evening to talk about what's going on. The difficulty is, as you know, it changes week to week. So the last meeting that we all had with Dr. Chan and DHHS was, I think, July 27th. And so he was giving us information that was relevant at that time with regard to things like mask wearing, how we identify, or if we need to identify close contacts. So as of that meeting, it was very different than what had been going on. So before, we will still call DHHS if we find out that someone has a positive test result. but they're not asking us to identify the close contacts as they were before unless they live in a household with the student. And then only if they're unvaccinated do they have to quarantine. So, but that's all subject to change as things move along. So what our committee is doing, and I think a lot of committees, we've got a plan A for if there's low community numbers, and then a plan B if there are high community numbers. So last year, we went as though it was high all of the time. So we had teachers and staff were wearing masks, the students were kept in their pods. By that I meant Montessori usually does a lot of things with the olders and youngers mixed together, and we weren't able to do that, so we're not going to do that this year as well, just to be precautionary. On buses and school transportation, they'll definitely have to wear masks. So yes, we're thinking about it all the time, and just adjusting. We can go off the information that we're given from those organizations and then make our plan to fit our communities. So Sullivan County right now is the only county without an uptick. So
We're lucky.
we're not gonna-
The thing that's disturbing is the US count, and I think this was the July 30th number, so this would have been last Friday. 80,000 new cases, where the week before there were only 10,000 new cases. So that really got my attention, and it's kind of why I'm asking the question, because things seem to be ramping up.
One of the things that Dr. Chan told us to do is don't look at an uptick over a day or 2 days. We need to look at it over 7 to 14
Yes,
days.
yeah.
Because sometimes things are reported and it just all gets lumped into one day, even
Yeah.
though it was spread out. So
Yeah.
that's something that we'll be mindful of on our committee.
Well, actually, this 586 number that I gave you was yesterday, and the prior number that I had was from the 30th. So there was no update over the weekend, so.
So it looks like a high number, but it was
Yeah,
for all of those days.
exactly,
Right.
yeah. Brendan?
Sure. Hi, I'm Brendan. I'm the superintendent here in Newport. I would just echo what Christy said. We, oddly enough, it must have been the meeting time, because we also met with our COVID committee yesterday and are putting semi-final details to our reopening plan version 2.0 for this upcoming year. We'll share that out with the school board at the next meeting on August the 12th. Hopefully it doesn't change a lot, because there's another meeting with Dr. Chan on August the 11th. But basically, we're looking at a combination. We're creating a matrix that looks at community spread, as well as number of positive cases within any one particular school, and what that would mean. The advice we're currently being given now is that it's highly unlikely they would ever want you to close the school completely now. And so we're keeping that in mind as well. And other than that, great excitement. We are in the process of creating an outdoor classroom space at the elementary school, so that the teachers can go out and have a space to have class meetings, those types of things. And we received a grant for playground equipment, and we're using a portion of that to create what they call a lateral climbing wall along the side of the building, so it goes across as opposed to up, because that would be a liability.
Yeah.
So we'll
Can't
go
imagine
across.
why.
I don't know. Kids, they're flexible, but so. And other than that, we're just doing our summer things. Lots going on. Lots of, I guess I'd call them improvements. They're not really full-on renovations, but definite improvements to some of our learning spaces. And it's interesting, you were showing the picture of the old schoolhouse,
Which they will see shortly.
we had our own version of that at the elementary school, because we had one of our classrooms kept getting flooded over this past year, and so they were looking at it. and it's in the older part of the school, and what they found was that the rock foundation was falling out. And so they had to put it back in and then put a sheet of, pad of concrete down the side to give it extra support, so.
What's the age of that building, Larry? When was that built?
Which one?
The original Richards, the original
Oh,
building?
1896.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Hey, it's lasted.
Yeah,
It's done a
exactly.
good job, so.
Exactly.
You know, and we're, actually, it sounds like our schedule is very similar to the Montessori's. We're doing kind of full-on starting after Labor Day. One of the things we found from this past year is we did a staggered kind of opening where we would bring in, a group of kids, a grade level, at each of the schools for a day without anyone else there. And the teachers found that to be great as a way to kind of set the tone with the kids, get to know the kids, and, not have the distraction of 400 people in the same space. So we've decided to carry that forward this year, and actually our back to school letters are going out probably in the next week or so.
And it will start when?
It starts, so our new teachers come on, I think it's the 23rd of August, 24th. Then all the teachers come that following 3 days, so the 25th, 26th, 27th. And then that following week, so the week before Labor Day, are those orientations. So the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that following week, Thursday, groups of kids will be coming in. Then we have Labor Day, and then the day after Labor Day, that Tuesday, everyone will come more towards your typical, start of the school year, so. And that's the news from the schools.
Awesome.
Now, I think you said last spring there, that you had a low turnover on teachers this past year. Is that true?
It was originally, but no, it's, hiring's been a real challenge this year, to be perfectly honest. We've had a number of people kind of verbally accept, but then they either get another job or they decide they don't want to move away from home or whatever. And so we're getting there, but no, there was definitely an uptick once the year started finishing up, which is unfortunate, but from what I can tell, it's also kind of statewide at the moment. And so I will not get on my soapbox today.
Well, sometimes it, from my experience on the other end, being a student, sometimes some of the new teachers coming in had new ideas, and they would attack it with more zest than some of the teachers that had been there a long time that kind of got in a groove, And so
Yeah, some of
it
that
isn't always
happens.
bad.
No, it isn't always, and no, I mean, it's a roll of the dice in some
Yeah.
ways, right? And you can get some phenomenal teachers when you hire. But what the kids have even said to us at the high school, this was a couple of years ago, is that, school is education, but school is also the social bonds that they make. And with such turnover amongst teachers, I think it kind of hurts their feelings, and they can't make the relationships with the kids. But I think it's just part of the deal right now. Where we used to have, not here, because it was years ago, but if I were in a district and I was hiring for an elementary position, in the past I would get about 100 applications. Now I get 10, maybe 15. So the allure of teaching has diminished, partly because of the rhetoric that comes out about teachers and that type of thing. And so, we have some positions that you can't get an applicant. If you're trying to get a physics teacher, if you're trying to get a high-level math teacher, very hard to do because, you know, if they didn't want to do education, teaching, because it was a passion of theirs, they can find other places of employment which pay sizably more. So it's just a weird time. It's like anything. The cycle will go through, and you know, this too shall pass, as they say.
I think another challenge we have right now too, because it's the same for us, and that doesn't change whether you're public or private school, are finding substitutes, because you have to be really
gosh.
mindful of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And so we're keeping these kids in pods, but it doesn't make sense to then have a sub who comes in and is in this room one day and then that room another day, and so that's definitely a challenge. And getting people, substitutes may not be comfortable coming into a school in a pandemic, so we've had some of that, right, because of other things, you know, it's not a full-time position for them, so they have to be really mindful of what they're exposing themselves to and then what they do when they're not at the school job.
Yeah.
So that's been a challenge for us
Yeah.
the last couple of years.
I'd heard that there is a major English teacher shortage kind of going around this year. At least I don't know if it's the case with Newport, but I know with some schools, which I thought was really odd because the whole reason I got out of teaching was I could never find, when I moved up here, I could not find any positions for English teachers. And so I thought it was interesting to see kind of positions suddenly open and then hearing that they're having trouble filling them.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we had one English opening, but that was it for us. But yeah, you know, the state's a big place.
You may not know this, but I started as an English teacher at Newport High School, so years ago that's what I did. And so I always look whether I'm placing an ad or just, you always look. You look at Indeed and you look at School Spring, and I've only seen a couple openings for English teachers. So in this area,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't want to see out of here.
Health, mathematics, science always is, special education is huge.
When Jackie and I went to school, English wasn't a problem. We had Mrs. Ketchen, who had probably been in the Newport school system teaching English for 50 years.
But I'll tell you, you learned your grammar. I can still quote chapter and verse of, you know, what she taught us. She was a real disciplinarian, but she was an excellent teacher.
Patrick, one thing I noticed, I saw a sign yesterday about a concert up at the airport for August 14th.
Yep.
They had one last month that was really not well attended, and I attribute most of it for lack of getting the word out. So I think your job is critically important to small areas like Newport and the organizations we have. I mean, they really put the effort out, but if they can't get the word out to the people that would attend, you know, gonna have a dismal turnout.
Right, and I did catch that concert. You know, I haven't delved into a lot of my phone calls and you know, stomping around town, going door to door to talk to people, but just from combing organization websites and their Facebook pages, you know, I found a good list of events that were happening, and I'm aware that NCTV did know some of them, but there were a lot that they didn't. That concert that's going to be happening at the airport was one of them. And you know, I'm hoping, I wish I kind of was able to get that out sooner, but you know, I just kind of come on board. But yeah, those are the kind of things that need to get the information out. It's, you know, I get it. I see from just private organizations to town committees, they have so much to do, and the marketing side of it is really difficult. A lot of small businesses and groups, they don't have that, and they may put it on a Facebook page or something, but it only gets so much attention, and it seems like, you know, our communities are becoming much more distracted and don't always, even if you put things on Facebook, it seems like we just have to keep using every outlet available to really get information out. And, that's my hope here. It's been hard for community television to be able to kind of do that outreach. And it's hard for the organizations to kind of have someone doing it. So, I'm available. It really helps me out as a news reporter anyway, because I can not only cover things for NCTV, but I can also turn them into stories for the Eagle Times, and we're doubling our coverage of it. And that's really kind of my hope is, I love jumping into television, and newspapers, they are what they are. I mean, it's a dying medium. I'm hoping that we can kind of continue adapting into digital and trying to kind of provide information that way. But we have community television, and it's a wonderful resource, and I'm hoping that we can really just use it, for all our communities, at Claremont as well. It's just a wonderful resource to have for getting that information out.
It's pretty exciting seeing what's happening around town as far as the town goes. I mean, they're repaving sidewalks and, paving roads, they're reconstructing Blueberry Ridge Road and Barton Whitney Road. I mean, they were terrible, back in the '60s. And the grants that they're getting, COVID's made more money available for some things like that, and it's really nice to see. But if the town can't get the word out that we've applied for these grants and got them, and this is what we're doing, the taxpayer doesn't know what's happening. So I think that it's really important that we can get that word out that the town is on the ball, and they are working, and they are improving, and, like you mentioned on the Opera House, and to me, that's really important.
It really is. And, I have to say, because, and speaking from Claremont, I know that Newport has some similar tendencies. Some of the biggest problems for our communities is there's the low self-esteem factor. I know in Claremont, people think all the problems are happening. I read it I read on kind of Newport community pages. People feel like, oh, this is just Newport. And you go over to Claremont, people think, oh, it's just Claremont, we're Claremont. Every town I cover, and I was really covering Vermont before I kind of started focusing on my own state. I found the exact same thing in Springfield, even in Rockingham. You go town to town where communities, a lot of the people in the community, they tend to kind of focus on the negatives, but they have it's amazing how much is going on, but people have no idea what's going on. And I've seen that definitely in Claremont, where people don't know some of the assets that have been there all that time. And I know that's the case in Newport as well. And I just want to keep on hammering that over and over again, try to get those positives out, because there really is. I mean, I taught over at this school. I taught over I worked over as an instructional assistant over at the Newport Middle High School for a couple of years, and I was over here. And so, so I've been very attached to this community, and there's just so much going on, and there are just so many just very unique, special assets that Newport has, and it's great for the community to know about those. And yeah, the grant stuff too. People think that there's not a lot going on, and it is. It just doesn't always get advertised until it's official. There's a lot that they don't talk about. They can't talk about because things aren't kind of signed in ink yet. It doesn't mean that things aren't happening.
Larry Cody, Newport Historical Society. We are pretty excited that the Newport Historical Society Museum is going to open this coming Sunday, August 8th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're refreshing some of the displays, and quite frankly, very few people have seen the displays that we currently have due to COVID coming out right after we put the displays in place. I'd like to talk a little bit about the newsletter, which Jackie will talk about later in probably in more detail. But what we've been doing lately in the newsletters is trying to analyze some of our old photographs and trying to, to dig deeper into them and bring out some aspects of the photograph. And this particular month, it was a lot of fun. A postcard that I had for probably 10 years I thought was the Corbin Covered Bridge turned out not to be the Corbin Covered Bridge. And it all came from just looking at that postcard once again and seeing a window on the right-hand side, on the far side of the bridge. And I'd looked at that postcard many times, but never in that detail. And it led to a little bit of research and coming to find out what bridge that was. But I'll let you read it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
No.
They gotta go pick
No.
one up.
No, but it's fun. We've been doing that the last 2 issues and plan to do it in future issues as the subject arises. Sometimes it's kind of a struggle to find something that's going to be more interesting, but as it is for everybody, I guess. But down at the museum, like I said last time, we have had several nice donations of artifacts. This past the 21st of July, the granddaughter, three generations removed from Austin Corbin, was at the high school in the Lou Thompson room, and she brought down her name's Ellen Simmons, and she was an Agile, and Agile's George S. Agile had married Austin Corbin's second daughter, so no, his first daughter, no, his second daughter, and I get confused. And she brought down this tote full of pictures and photo albums and whatnot. And we had an author coming in from Michigan that wants to do an article or a book on Harold Baines, who was a naturalist that worked up at the Corbin Park, and he was nationally known as a naturalist, and it's just incredible some of the pictures that Ellen had. I mean, there's like a little bird, a chickadee or whatever it was, but it would sit on his knee. He was kind of reclining with his knees drawn up, and the little bird would sit on his knees. And the next frame, it shows it sitting on his chin, and then he put looked like a pack of cigarettes or something in his mouth, and it would be on there. And then the fourth one was kind of really cute. He had a picture of Baines holding a rifle, and the little chickadee was on the end of the rifle looking into the barrel. I mean, he was. I guess he was such a gentle guy that these animals would just come up to him, and he would train fox and rabbits, and and it's kind of a cute little side story. Ellen was out at Mount
Rushmore?
Yes, Mount Rushmore, and a naturalist was talking, and he was talking about the buffalo, and he said, buffaloes can't be trained. So Ellen says, she raises her hand and says, oh yes they can. She says they trained them in Corbin Park in New Hampshire. So he did. We do have pictures of Baines driving two fairly small buffalo that he had raised from infancy to young buffaloes pulling a little two-wheel gig, and so it's fun. And Ellen and her husband Dave donated all those pictures, and I counted them up this week when I was doing the deed of gift, and we have 17 photo albums of the family, Corbin Park, when the Hardscrabble Farm, which is now Full Circle Farm, to see some of the pictures of what it was then, to see what it is now. I mean, Full Circle Farm we're really lucky to have that facility in Newport. I don't know if you've done an article or seen that yet, but
No.
it's absolutely incredible what they've done up
You
there.
have to.
But we're like I said, we're looking forward to greeting people at the museum. And if you want to get a newsletter mailed to your house, if you join the Historical Society, that is, you know, the principal benefit of that, other than knowing that you're supporting the Historical Society. And we do have, up in our library, we get over 250 3-ring binders by subject matter. So if you came up and wanted something on the airport, we could hand you a binder on that. If you wanted to look at Main Street, we could hand you a binder that you could see the various storefronts that were on Main Street over the years. We've got a large collection of Ross photographs that were taken back around the turn of the century to 1920, up around that time. And they were all glass plates, and they've all been printed by Sierra Photo and Michael Dixon when he was president of the Historical Society, and the quality is just incredible. So you can spend some time up there just looking at it. The school section, we've got a whole shelf, I think it's five shelves of school documents, and it's always fun when a graduating class will come to the Historical Society and they're having a reunion, and I can get the binder that has their pictures and whatnot out, and it's fun for us, and there are a few yearbooks that we're still looking for, but we've got a pretty complete collection of yearbooks.
What are the years you're looking for?
I think 56, 57, and the later ones from 2018, I've missed those. And yeah, come on down to the museum. Like I said, we'll be open starting this coming Sunday, August 8th, and we'll be open every Sunday except for holiday weekends. Like to give the staff the chance to spend the holidays with their families, so we didn't think it was appropriate to open the museum on those days and have our docents tied up with the museum where they could be enjoying their families. That's about all I have.
Well, I don't really have much to report on the airport at this point. We'll know more. We have our next meeting the same day as the Town Times meeting, which would be August 17th. And Heath is trying to arrange a fireworks display in September. That would entail the New Hampshire Pyrotechnic Association coming to do it, and they definitely want to do that, but they have to get permission from the fire department, and that's what Heath is waiting on. So I'm hoping on the 17th I'll have information about that. Now, the next newsletter that we put out, we've already decided what the content's going to be, and it's going to be on the North Newport Schoolhouse, and also probably something on some of the other, a brief article on the other, 19 districts we had at one point. Just a little information about some of that. But as some of you know, the North Newport Schoolhouse is being raised, and there's been a lot of complaints and whatever on Facebook. Why are you doing that? So on and so forth. The schoolhouse was made into a home. We're not sure when, probably in the 70s or 80s. And it was recently purchased, I say recently, within the last year, by Katie Burns from Virginia. And so what I'm gonna show you and what Susan's gonna capture is, as he was tearing it down, this is part of the foundation. And this is one of the reasons why the schoolhouse is being torn down. Larry and I were inside. unfortunately, Katie, when she bought it at auction, she never had a chance to go inside. They were looking through the windows. Let's see. It's probably a little further along than that right now. This was from last week. But the floors are all wavy, and when he really got looking at it, it just, for what she wanted to do on the inside, she wanted to completely redo the inside. It just it didn't make sense. As you could see from that foundation, it really wasn't in that good a shape. So that is one of the reasons why the schoolhouse is being torn down. Now, the plans that Katie has will replicate what was or is being torn down, so it will still look the same with the bell tower and a reasonable bell, not a little tinkly thing that has been there. But we'll kind of keep you apprised as things go along. But that's the reason why it just was not safe. And Susan, who is behind the camera here, Susan's been in it, and she lives just a couple houses down from the schoolhouse, so she's been taking photos for us, and we'll certainly include some of that in the upcoming newsletter.
Trying to date the building.
Yes.
We have folders down there for each of the 19 school districts in Newport, and looking through the little receipts, the foreman would just take like a 2-inch piece of paper, 6 inches long, and they would write on it their name, and they would say, pay such and such a person X number of dollars for teaching in District 6. And you know, they were pretty small to begin with, the pay, but the oldest one I could find for the Newport School District 6, which is North Newport, was 1814. And a lot of that data would be captured in the town reports, but our oldest town report is 1843. So, you know, it's pretty difficult to really age that building, but from the picture that Jackie just showed you, you can tell that it was pretty early on, pretty rustic. I believe most of those school buildings were built for like $300 or less, and they were more than likely done by volunteer help or low bid, and so it's a testament to the building that it did last that long, especially when you look at that picture. I mean, it's just incredible. Sorry, Jackie.
No, that's by all means. They're trying to, Clayton, what's his last name, Susan? I know. I know his first name is Clayton, but anyway, he's doing the demolition and reconstruction, and he's from down where Katie is currently living in, I think it's Stafford, I think that's the name of the town, of Virginia. It's right on the Chesapeake Bay on the western shore, about halfway up. But anyway, very knowledgeable guy. He has a construction company, and he's an ex-Marine.
He's Clayton Gilbert.
Clayton, I should know that because that was my maiden name. Why didn't I remember that? I remember that now. But anyway, nice, really nice guy, very knowledgeable, and he's trying to save. One of the reasons why he didn't just go in and bulldoze the place is they're trying to save beams and any architectural things that could be, you know, used in the reconstruction for the historical part of it. So it's, you know, even though it's sad to see the building come down, it's also exciting because you get to see what's behind the bricks and mortar, so to speak, in these pictures. And I have more pictures that Katie's going to send that he sent her, so that will be good. And maybe, who knows, maybe I can convince him to come to the next Town Times and just share a little bit of information. Yeah, Susan says he's quite a talker, but he's a really nice guy. We'll put a leash on him. If I can get him, we'll just give him a certain length of time. But probably won't matter because sometimes we have trouble filling the hour in. But the other thing is, on the 17th, which is our next Town Times, Jennifer Opolinski will be here from the Tech Center And she will be able to give us an update on the, what they've come up with for, I guess, the architectural plans of where are they at with that, Brendan?
I believe that's where they're at.
That's where they're at, okay.
They had a couple of different options, and I think they're costing them out right now. And they're actually presenting, the architects are presenting to the school board on the 12th as well.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, it's moving along, you know.
Right
it's,
along. So, anybody else have anything else? I think that's all I have for this particular edition of Town Times. And Patrick, I want to thank you for coming in. This, to me, is very exciting. And this is one of the reasons why we've been doing Town Times when Rebite ended, because that was a way for organizations and town entities and what have you to just kind of get the word out about, what's going on. And initially they were taped and then rebroadcast, but Susan is a magician here with her little box, being able to actually broadcast. I know I wish you could see it, it's just this little thing, but it works. And we're also, I guess, Susan will correct me if I'm wrong, on Facebook and YouTube. How does that work, Susan?
It's a restream, so this box actually goes straight to, we have it programmed to go straight to channel 10, straight to YouTube, and straight to Facebook. So I schedule Facebook to come live and schedule YouTube to come live at a certain time.
Wow.
And there's a program that takes it and disseminates it.
Wow, that is really neat.
Jackie, it might be appropriate time to make a plea to some of the organizations to send their representatives in to give us an update on what they're doing and whatnot, like in the past.
Absolutely. If anybody out there would like to be part of what we do here twice a month, by all means, give me a call, 863-3